Golden Opportunities is paid for by Elder Productions.
Hello, I'm Lori Steiner. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, what is interactive in-home care? We'll tell you and share why it's so important for your loved one. Then, we'll point out why podcasts are so popular with older adults. Want to whiten your smile for the brightest time of the year? We'll list how to lighten up. Plus, we'll find out what went on behind the badge of America's most decorated police officer. And giving to your kids or grandkids, we'll give you the latest on the changes in the law.
It's time to get GOing, so pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. $10,000 people turn 65 each day. That's more than 3.6 million each year. Need another overwhelming number? That total will double in the next 20 years. As we all continue to age, we'll need options for care, and many of us will want to stay in our home sweet home. Paul Burke is here to identify the important factors to consider for in-home care. Paul is the co-owner of Comfort Keepers in Beechwood and in Westlake. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Even though everybody's getting older every day, it just seems like the need for care and support kind of surprise people.
You're right, it does surprise people. Usually it happens when someone has a chronic illness or an accident. So it's the #1 cause for hospitalization among seniors. So you'll have a hospital stay, and from that time you'll go to rehab, and then where do you go? You're going to come home eventually. So you better be prepared to come home. So at some point you're going to need home care.
Or if your spouse passes away and now you're home alone?
Exactly. Second reason is that the death of a spouse. That could be your caregiver at home.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you come home and there's no caregiver there? Or you could have been the caregiver. You could be married for 50 or 60 years, and now you don't have that social interaction.
Right.
So now you're in isolation. So what are you going to do? You're going to need some help.
Yep. And you talk about interactive care as the model for home care. So what does that exactly mean?
Well, interactive care generally has 4 components to it. Be personal care, it would be nutrition, it would be cognitive well-being, and personal safety.
Okay, well let's talk about each one of them, starting with personal care.
Well, personal care is if someone needs attention to themselves personally. They need to be bathed or they need to be groomed. Or if they're in good health, it's their physical well-being. So we need to keep people active, ambulatory, exercised, walked. If they can't walk, can they do exercises in their chair, range of motion exercises?
Okay. How about cognitive well-being?
Well, cognitive well-being is just as important as the physical well-being because they go hand in hand. So cognitive well-being is keeping someone engaged with their mind. So keeping them engaged in activities that they do on a daily basis. So maybe they like to play cards, they like to knit, they like to garden. So keeping them socialized in those activities as well.
Okay, sounds good. How about personal in-home safety?
Well, personal in-home safety goes back to the #1 reason why seniors get hospitalized, which is due to falls. So we know that there's going to be an opportunity for falls at home, so we want to minimize that risk. So we look at a personal home assessment. So what tripping hazards are there in the home? What fall risks are there in the home? And we want to remove all these risks or hazards to make sure that our senior at home is safe so they can age in place.
Okay, and the last one is nutrition, which kind of seems obvious, but a lack of good nutrition can really cause a lot of problems, right?
Well, we know the #1 reason for hospitalization is falls or chronic illness. The #2 reason is improper malnutrition. So nutrition is very key. Because seniors live in isolation, they tend not to eat properly because eating is a highly social event. So picture your mom or your dad and one of them is gone and now someone just loses the will to eat. There's no one to prepare a meal for anymore. So they just start to eat less and less and less. So when they're not eating properly, they're also not hydrating themselves correctly. And now we have an issue with cognitive well-being or a lack of cognitivity. And We have a problem with medication management for medication to be processed correctly.
Wow. A lot of things to consider for at-home care.
Lots of things to consider.
All right. Home care is a great option if you need assistance and you want to age in place, but you need to be sure all of your needs are included in that care. My thanks to Paul Burke for adding up the areas we need to count on when we're counting on staying in our home as we get older.
For more information, call Comfort Keepers in Beechwood at 216-595-3681 or visit www.beechwood-257.comfortkeepers.com. Next, why downloads are on the upswing. But first, here's a scary thought. There's a movie with an opening scene identifying this date, December 11th at 2:43 p.m. This is no holiday seasonal script, though it gifted the box office with millions in money. Can you name this psychological thriller? We'll roll the credits when we return.
Hilltop Village Apartments is retirement living at its best. Residents enjoy a wide variety of activities and living services with all large first-floor apartments, private screened-in patios with beautiful park views, daily dining room meals, free laundry facilities, 24-hour staff, and so much more. Enjoy safe, comfortable independence at a very affordable price. Call today for a tour and learn how you can get your first month's rent free. Hilltop Village Apartments, retirement living at its best.
Now considered one of Alfred Hitchcock's best works, the film Psycho starts on Friday, December 11th at 2:43 p.m. And very quickly, time is running out for star Janet Leigh. Wisely, the movie was released in June in 1960, so our holidays could be horror-free.
Podcasts are popping up all over, and who's downloading them? We are. About a third of the podcasts that are downloaded are done by those 55 and older. If you haven't tuned in yet but want to find out how to listen in, then listen up, because Dave Jackson is here to tell us. Dave is a podcast consultant and owner of the schoolofpodcasting.com. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us first, what's a podcast?
A podcast is a little bit like radio, except radio you have to listen at a certain time. So this is radio on demand. And you can listen on your computer, you can listen on a tablet. If you listen on your, if you have a smartphone, that makes it even more fun, because now you can listen to whatever you want. And there are thousands of titles to listen to. You can listen wherever you want and then whenever you want.
Wow.
And the great thing is 99% of them are free.
Oh, even better, yeah. So how do we, there's topics that we can tune into. How do we know what the topics are?
It's hard to say. There are a bazillion of them. Think of it a little bit like a TV show, or a newspaper would be even better. Because you think newspaper, there's politics, there's lifestyle, there's sports, things like that. So there are these wide-ranging topics, but there's also, you can go hyper niche. Like there's somebody here in Cleveland that does one, it's called the Beard Podcaster. And it's about professional bearding. I have a friend of mine who does one for a minor league soccer team in Cincinnati called Cincinnati Soccer Talk. And that one was so hyper niche and hyper local that he actually got a sponsor.
Wow, wow. How long do podcasts run and how often are they aired?
You can be as little as 2 minutes. There's a great quote from a radio executive that said, there is no such thing as too long, there's only too boring. And so I have a client of mine that did a show for farming, and she sent me her first episode, and it was 3 hours long, and I'm like, Judy, it's 3 hours long, and she goes, yeah, I know, my audience says it's too short, because her audience is farmers. They're out on a tractor 8 hours a day, and they're like, where's the next one? So a lot of people try to make them like 20 minutes, because that's allegedly the average commute in America, but it can be really whatever you want. And in terms of schedule, that again is kind of up to you. It could be daily, weekly, monthly. You don't really have to have a schedule. If you can, it's great, because now you're part of somebody's routine. But there's one podcaster that's completely thrown it out the window, and he takes months between episodes. It's called Dan Carlin. He does hardcore history. But when it comes out, it's such great content that he literally gets hundreds of thousands of downloads the first day. It's amazing.
And they're long podcasts, I assume?
It's like 3-4 hours long. It's crazy.
Do you have to be really techie, you know, like my kids are more techie than I am to handle a podcast?
Not really. I always say if you can upload a picture to Facebook, then you can upload. You have file management down. If you've ever been in the car and the phone rang and you turn down the radio, you know how to mix audio. So you don't really have to be a giant geek. And in terms of if you wanted to find one, probably the easiest way is if you just went to Google. So let's say I was looking for retirement planning. Well, if I put the word podcast at the end of that, retirement planning podcast, and hit search, you're probably going to find something that you can listen to and give it a try.
All right. And if we have something to say, we want to do our own podcast, is that easy as well?
That's easy. Come see me, schoolofpodcasting.com. Been doing it for 12 years, and I can help you with equipment and things like that. But basically, I just help you start, launch, and grow your podcast.
And growing is getting out there, getting the word out there that you've got this great podcast. All right. Sounds very interesting. I'm going to have to podcast something.
That's it.
So. Thanks to podcasts, you can find information, history, sports, plain old storytelling, and more just waiting for you to take a listen. My thanks to Dave Jackson for helping us to take a peek into the podcast world.
Find out more by contacting the School of Podcasting at 234-542-0893 or click to www.schoolofpodcasting.com. Next, wrap up the holidays with a smile. Looking for places to go, things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. Now's the time of year to see the Nutcracker. And this year, one of the best has come to Cleveland, the Moscow Ballet's Great Russian Nutcracker. Enjoy this holiday favorite at Cleveland Public Auditorium and Conference Center for 2 performances only on Saturday, December 17th. To point your way to tickets, call 800-320-1733 or log on to www.nutcracker.com.
You want to whiten and brighten your smile, but is brightest always best? Dentist Steve Marsh is here to open your eyes and your mouth to your teeth color options. So welcome back to the show again.
Thanks so much, Lori.
Now, most people want to take their teeth from dull to dazzling. So how do they do that?
So, you know, everybody comes in, that's one of the big things, and there's web search. They go on to clevelandsmiles.com, Zoom, and we do a lot of Zoom. So Zoom is a procedure where patients come in the office. It takes about an hour to an hour and a half. They lay down in a chair, they look at the TV, and we have a picture here of the Zoom going on with a patient, actually. And that's the Zoom light that we paint on a special gel that's activated or light activated. And it gives them a beautiful smile in about an hour to an hour and a half. Interesting, Lori, like everything else, you have to maintain it. So one of the things we do about maintaining is to give them whitening trays. So this is a patient who came to me. She had worn her teeth quite a bit. She was in her 30s, Lori. Wanted them brighter. She did Zoom. That's the after picture, and it made a considerable difference in terms of color. And that's what people are trying to achieve. I'm talking about maintenance, though, just for a minute. So many people will then go to a whitening tray. I'm going to hold this up, and they use a gel. So you can whiten your teeth with this technique without Zoom. It just takes a lot longer. But once you do Zoom, you have to use this tray with the gel to maintain it once a month. And women will say to me, well, how often should I do it? And if their hair's colored, I might suggest, well, the same day you go in for your hair color or style, once a month or so, you can put the tray in for about a half an hour and maintain that color.
Okay, and you also talk a lot about veneers. Is that another way to brighten a smile?
It is, and it's also good for people in our age group whose teeth sometimes don't whiten as much as they'd like with the gels or the Zoom. And we have a lot of different shades of porcelain that we can use. I'm actually going to hold this up. This is interesting to me in that years ago, this is the scale we used to use. Those were the scales of porcelains, but now people bleach their teeth. So today everybody wants whiter and whiter. Let me pull it here next to my blue jacket, and you can see how far we've come. So now some people will still want to match their old teeth, but many want this new bright smile. And that's where we use veneers.
All right, and you got some pictures, don't you?
Lots of pictures of befores and afters. And this is a woman who's actually a friend of ours, and she said, Steve, I want something beautiful. You can see her arrangement was good. Whitening, that was after whitening. They didn't whiten up as much as we would have liked, and so we ended up doing porcelain veneers on top. You can see what it looks like there. And we did, in her case, 10 porcelain veneers on the lower. She said, I'm not ready to do the lowers, let's wait a while. And if you look at the lower, which we did actually about a year later, we were able to match the porcelain on the top. One of the interesting things is because of digital techniques, we're able to actually match exactly what we've gone to. Earlier, we showed the woman who did the zoom. And this was with her whitened smile, but you also saw, if you looked, the gum height, she had a very, what we call gummy smile, so we raised the tissue using a laser technique, and then we did porcelain veneers over them. And the veneers today, Lori, can be made very thin and beautiful, and that's her before and after. Again, she had whitening, then brightened the teeth, and then came up with that beautiful smile. Still another patient, and what she did was, over the years, she had worn her lower teeth. And you can see, this happens to probably a lot of our viewers. You grind your teeth, you use your teeth to bite into things and chew things, and she had worn those teeth down. You could see the next layer of tooth structure. And so we came in with these porcelain veneers on the bottom after having done the uppers first. So it not only made it look brighter, but it gave her strength and function, which is also very important when you're looking at today's dentistry.
Wow, always great information that you have today about whitening teeth for this season of the year.
The perfect time for it.
Yep. At this time, as I was saying, the brightest time of the year, you may want to match your smile to the brightness. To find out which way to make your smile a winner, give Steve a call. His number's next.
See what Dr. Stephen Marsh can do for your smile by calling 440-461-1003 or visit www.clevelandsmiles.com. Next, the numerous stories behind Badge 387. It's time to get up and go, an exercise segment on golden opportunities.
Hello everybody, it's Mike Carbon from Breakout Fitness, and today we're here to show you how to work the shoulder muscles, but more importantly than the shoulder muscles, the trap muscles, which aid our neck in moving all different directions when we're driving or even sitting at the ballpark watching a game. You ready to go? I don't know. Exactly, you already got it. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna stand on the center of the band. Okay, we wanna make sure there's a nice amount of tension between our foot and our hand. All we're gonna do is maintain good posture, make sure you breathe, but we're gonna bring the shoulders to our ears and then back down. Your arms should stay straight throughout the whole movement. Just squeeze your neck and look forward, okay? Raise your shoulders as high as you can, as if you're saying, I don't know.
I don't know.
How you feeling?
I don't know.
I don't know, all right. All right, we're looking for 12 to 15 repetitions here, at least 3 to 4 sets, everybody. And now it's your turn to get up and go.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 6105 Parkland Boulevard, Suite 140, Mayfield Heights, Ohio, 44124.
Jim Simony has been called Super Cop, and he earned that name over nearly 40 years working on the streets of Cleveland. Author Robert Sperna has captured his unique personality and tenacious commitment to justice in his book, Badge 387, The Story of Jim Simony, America's most decorated cop. Robert joins us today to help us get to know this very special man behind the badge. Welcome to the show today, and we're talking about Super Cop. So what makes somebody a Super Cop?
Jim was a very aggressive, proactive police officer. He had to be the first at the scene, the first through the door, and as a result of that, he was involved in quite a few gun battles. He actually killed 5 people in the line of duty, all ruled justifiable, and he was shot himself in 1983 in a church. A bullet went in under his eye, came out the back of his head, and he walked out of the hospital 2 days later. Oh,
my goodness. He's a tough guy, it sounds like. And he was repeatedly honored for his work, correct?
Correct. He had more than 100 commendations and decorations for his work, for valor and bravery.
Wow. And he also not only took bullets, got beat up, but he actually jumped into a frigid river or lake or something?
Correct. A woman was walking across frozen river, Cuyahoga River in the Flats, and she appeared to be drowning. It was in the wintertime, and he jumped in after her, saved her, nearly lost his life himself.
Oof. And he was named top cop right in Cleveland a couple of times?
The only officer in the history of the Cleveland Police Department to be named Officer of the Year twice.
Okay, wow. So he was doing a great job, it sounds like. But not everybody was a fan of his, is that right?
No, Jim was colorblind when it came to the blue wall, the blue code. He was somewhat of a moral absolutist. He saw everything in right or wrong, black or white, and he was not averse to arresting other police officers for wrongdoings.
Oh, that's probably how you had to do it. Why do you think he was drawn to police work?
Just his nature, tremendous work ethic. He would admit himself that he was somewhat of an adrenaline junkie. He served in Vietnam in the infantry and came home, and I think he wanted that same sense of camaraderie, that regimentation, and that action.
Okay, so he just took it on the streets then as a beat cop, which is probably not what a lot of cops aspire to, right?
That's where the action is. You have a chance of arresting people with felony warrants, firearms. You're always busy, and I think he enjoys that.
And he was busy, but he was never really off the clock.
No, I mean, police work was his life. He lived it.
Even when he was off duty, he would save people and like the bank robbery story that you were mentioning to me before?
He actually walked into a couple banks when robberies were in progress, and in the last one, he ended up shooting somebody, killing him. That was his 5th killing.
Wow.
Before he retired.
But he is retired, as you say, but he's still working as a part-time patrol officer in the suburbs, right?
Jim has 3 jobs.
3 jobs.
He likes to joke that he slowed down in retirement to 60 hours a week of work.
So what's he exactly doing?
He works for a couple suburban police departments part-time, and then he also works for one of the courts downtown.
Okay. And he lets the elderly folks know he's out there, doesn't he? How does he do that?
This story was related to me by a police psychologist. Before Jim retired, he took a drive through a housing project and shined his light on the windows as he drove by, and the psychologist said, "What are you doing? Who are you looking for?" He said, "Nobody. I'm just letting them know I'm out here. They sleep better when they know I'm on patrol."
Oh, I bet they did. So thank you so much for sharing his story with us.
Thank you for having me.
Robert Sperna's book, Badge 387, introduces you not only to the very impressive and very human Officer Jim Simone, it also walks you through the challenges that every police officer faces on the beat every day. My thanks to Robert for sharing a bit of Officer Simone's story with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
To learn more or to order the book, call Kent State University Press at 800-247-6553 or visit their website, www.kentstateuniversitypress.com. Next, a major change for gifts to minors.
Let's all wake up to better health. Walk, run, fly. Find a partner, an ally. A Metro Health doctor who will listen as long as it takes, so you can celebrate every day by living it your way. Get your physical, checkup, regular screening at Metro Health, and wake up every day to better health. Change is healthy.
Did you miss a phone number or website? Then here's your second chance, because we're going to list all of that information again. Then we'll be back with guidance on gifting to grandchildren. When you consider a gift or bequest to your newborn grandchild, what can you do to ensure your hard-earned money only reaches her when she is mature enough? Recently, the Ohio House passed a bill that may make it easier to gift assets to minors without using a trust. Here to discuss this legislation is my law partner, Mike Solomon.
Hi, Lori.
So, back on the show again, talking about legislation. What can you tell us about the House bill?
Well, the House bill is 432, and what it does is it's passed the House, as I said, and it extends the time that money can be put aside in a custodial account for a child or grandchild, whoever you give the money to, a minor. So it hasn't passed the Ohio Senate yet. It has to be, of course, signed by the governor, but it looks like it'll happen. So right now, the way the law is right now, if you put money aside for a minor, you set it up in a custodial account. If for a grandchild, let's say you put in the parent's name as custodian for the grandchild.
Right.
At age 21, it's theirs. No matter how much is in that, they get that money.
All right, 21 is pretty young to handle money,
That's
so
right.
what else can you do if you don't want somebody to have their hands on the money that young?
Well, you can use a trust. You can put money in a trust, and the trust document can say it's held to whatever age you decide. You can put all sorts of restrictions on it.
Okay, but if I want to leave my $20,000 to my granddaughter, I set up a trust and says she can't control it or can't have the money until a particular age, like 25, right?
Well, you can do that. The trouble is a trust to hold that amount of money, that smaller amount of money, is probably too cumbersome and too costly to do it that way. And that's what would be good about the new law, because if it passes, you could set up a custodial account and you can put an age, let's say up to age 25, have it held in a custodial account to their 25. It's a lot more efficient than a trust for that amount of money.
Okay, how would that work?
Well, let's say you want to set up a custodial account, so you want to give some shares, let's say to your grandson. You set it up, I give 20 shares of this stock in the name of my son as custodian for his son. So you set it up that way, and it's written that way. That way it's held as a custodial account, and then when they hit the appropriate age, right now, age 21, it's theirs to handle.
Or 25 under the new law?
Right, under 25 under
All
the
right,
new law.
it makes sense. Is it going to take the place of trusts?
No, I mean, like anything, it's all your individual situation. For many people, a custodial account at age 25 does exactly what they want. But if you have different restrictions you want it held for a longer period, or just different rules, custodial account won't work. Or you might want to address what happens if the grandchild or child passes away, where the money goes. So it's all an individual situation. A trust can be used in the right situation, but a lot of times this new custodial account at age 25 will solve a lot of problems.
Oh, good. Hope it passes. So.
Yes.
We'll have to stay tuned to see what the legislature does with this bill. It does sound like a great idea for a lot of folks considering gifts to minors. But like everything else, it has to be right for your family. If you have questions, give Mike a call. The number's next.
Call Solomon, Steiner, and Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information or to schedule a speaker for your organization. Or log on to www.ssnplaw.com.
Thanks for joining us. Join us next week again when we have more great information for you. But until then, please make the most of your golden opportunities.
If you'd like to join our kitchen conversation, visit our website, www.goldenopportunities.tv. Like us on Facebook. Call us at 440-742-GO-TV or email us at kitchen@goldenopportunities.tv. We'd love to hear from you.
Golden Opportunities is paid for by Elder Productions.